I am acutely aware that I'm sounding like a scratched record, and trust me, I would love to open social media and find some happy, light-hearted story to talk about, but at the moment it's always the same thing. It's gender ideology being forced down everyone's throat, and if you don't go along with it 100%, people will tell you you are by default a fascist. But luckily I found a clip on Twitter which shows just how unhinged some of these people are.
The problem with being a centrist is you have the left saying, I think trans people deserve rights and shouldn't be killed. And then you have the right saying, we want to kill trans people, we want a trans genocide. And then you're sitting in the middle there saying, both sides have really good points. I don't know, man, I'm a centrist. And that makes you just as bad.
First things first, he's wearing the same t-shirt as me. And I said he, but the pronouns are he, she, they, it and pup. And maybe it's just me, but if you have someone who spends any amount of their time thinking they're a dog, maybe we shouldn't take their opinion overly seriously. The second thing is, I think the tattoo that individual has is of a hammer and sickle, the symbol of the Soviet Union. And if you live in the Western world and you think communism is a good idea, sorry to break it to you, you are a gullible retard. Communism has only failed in every fucking country it's been tried in. If you want to know what communism's really like, speak to someone who grew up in a communist country and they will tell you about starvation and living in fear that if they say one word wrong, they and their entire family will be abducted, tortured and murdered. The far left and the far right are different sides of the same coin. The far right has fascism, the far left has communism, and both regimes murdered millions of their own people. Yeah, Danny, keep it light. So, in Pup's opinion, centrists are as bad as the far right. Now, I consider myself a centrist, or at least I used to, but in recent years, the far left has gone so far to the left that I guess from their perspective, everyone else is now on the far right, even though most of us haven't fucking moved. And this idea that the right are calling for a trans genocide, I have never heard that. I guess the only people who would be looking for a trans genocide would be devout Muslims, and I doubt the woke left are going to go after them. Not unless they want to go out with a bang. And the sad state of affairs is, the main group of people killing trans people are themselves. And it's understandable, because if you have someone with a severe mental illness, and rather than getting it treated, they're instead brainwashed into thinking that if they can appear to be the opposite sex, everything will be okay. Well, a few years down the line, when the mental illness hasn't gone away, but they've been mutilated by a surgeon and racked up hundreds of thousands of pounds of debt, it doesn't leave many options. As for only the left wanting trans people to have human rights, that's also a lie. As a centrist, everyone should have human rights. The issue is, there are so many toxic trans women who think the way that they can get rights is to take them away from actual women, and don't acknowledge how fucking misogynistic they're being. They break womanhood down to a list of tropes and stereotypes. All the centrists are asking is for trans people to act like decent human beings. And I've got a perfect example of a trans woman not being a decent human being, because this woman is a Canadian powerlifter who not only entered into a women's tournament, therefore cheating like all trans athletes do, but after winning, then decided to slag off the women in the competition.
Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a tranny freak, so that doesn't count. And no, we're not talking about Mackenzie Lee. She's got little T-Rex arms and she's like 400 pounds of chest muscle, apparently. I mean, standard bench in powerlifting competition for women, I literally don't understand why it's so bad.
I'm glad we've cleared up the terminology. Apparently, tranny freak is the correct phrase. And why is women's bench so poor? Well, mate, it's because, like it or not, you're a man. You went through puberty as a male. You have a massive advantage because men and women are built very differently. But you're not just a man, you're a man who is a vile liar and a cheat. And if not, you are a hideous, ugly woman that no one in their right mind would want to fuck. But a backlash is underway, with many sports banning trans competitors, and the latest one to do it is chess. Chess's world governing body has said, and I quote, "Transgender chess players have no place in female tournaments." Of course, this has led to much screaming and wailing and claims of bigotry and transphobia, and even some trans women saying it implies that women are less intelligent than men because there is no depth to which those fuckers won't sink. To me, it seems like the mindset of the average toxic trans woman is whatever actual women have, they want to have it. They don't want to share it, they want to take it away, so they have everything and women have nothing. And I guess that's based on jealousy, because biological women are something they can never be. However, since the series The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, which starred Anya Taylor-Joy, that elfish girl who needs a bit, there's been a massive rise in young female chess players. And given that chess is male dominated because only 1% of grandmasters are female, doesn't it make sense to have female only tournaments? Because even though it is in effect positive discrimination, doesn't it make sense that if there's a major chess tournament, at least some of the people winning trophies should be women? That way, young girls watching the tournament will have something to aspire to. Whereas, if the women's category is won by basically a pantomime dame, clutching the trans pride flag, screaming, "I'm a real woman, you're not women, you're chest feeders and bleeders," that's something no one should aspire to be. And there's some research to suggest that there's a reason that men tend to be better at chess, snooker and pool, basically sports that don't require physical strength. And it's down to men usually having better pattern recognition and spatial awareness. And this will sound very unpopular in the modern world, but back in the early days of humanity, men and women fulfilled very different roles. Women gave birth to and raised children, whereas men were hunter-gatherers. And as a hunter-gatherer, spatial awareness is very important, in the same way that spatial awareness on the chessboard to know where everything is also important. And as for pattern recognition, well, if you're playing a game of chess and your opponent keeps moving the same piece, you can guess pretty much they're leading up to an attack, in the same way that the caveman out on the savannah would watch the grass moving and would know the difference between whether the grass is moving because it's windy or if it's a fucking saber-toothed tiger. And now many sports are introducing open categories, in which the cheating trans women who weren't good enough to compete against men can now compete. And I think that's wonderful, because I can tell you now who will win all the open events. Men will win all the open events, the same men who win the men's events. And that's wonderful, because for all the time we've heard that trans women are women and that trans women have no physical advantage over biological women, using that logic, biological men should have no advantage over trans women because they are technically the same. And I also guarantee that the troons will cry about that as well. It's a sad thing to say, but almost all the problems of the trans community are entirely self-inflicted. And going back to the idea of just being a decent human being, I recently read a story on social media about a trans woman who'd gone into a McDonald's toilet, obviously the women's toilet, and whilst she was in there, a male cleaner entered. And she said it made her feel unsafe. She flushed the chain so that he would know she was there, but he didn't leave. Should this be allowed? And that was written without a hint of irony. So the trans woman feels threatened because in a female-only space, a man has entered. Exactly the same thing that the trans woman has done. The difference being, the cleaner's just doing his fucking job. He's doing what he's paid to do. He's not in there as a potential sex offender. And just a few days after Graham Linehan had his stand-up set cancelled due to trans rights activists, which I made a video on, Twitter in the UK has exploded. And it's wonderful to see so many women voicing their opinion, saying, "We have had enough," being vocal about the damage the trans movement is doing to women. To add context, if you're from outside the UK, you probably won't know who Vernon Kay or Ian Wright are. Vernon Kay started off as a male model. He's now a TV and radio presenter who I neither watch nor listen to. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. This is a man who almost wrecked his marriage by having a text affair with a page 3 girl. And if you're from outside the UK, again, a page 3 girl is a topless model. And he was asking her to send him photos of her tits. A topless model like he hadn't seen him before. Ian Wright is a former footballer who's also had, I think, more than one affair. This lady puts it better than I ever could. As ever, thanks for watching.
Hi Turf Island, it's me. I'm just making a quick video because I've just watched a little thing between Ian Wright, the ex-footballer, and Vernon Kay, I don't know what he used to do, but he's a person, talking about something that's happening to women. Something's changing for women. It's really bad for women globally right now. What could that possibly be? Are women being abducted by bears? Are aliens coming and taking us? What's happening, Ian? What's happening, Vernon? Can you say the words? Because I'll say them. Men are taking our shit. They're taking our sports, they're taking our spaces, they're taking our rights, they're taking our language, they're trying to take fucking everything from us. And unless you can come out and actually say what's happening, that men are trying to take over women's everything by pretending to be us, then what is the point of you waxing lyrical about how you love women and how you should treat us nice and blah 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 and stuff you're saying off air? Quite frankly, it's not good enough. I'm sorry. I'm fed up because I've been fighting this 6 years. There's women that I know that have been fighting this so many fucking decades, right? Every day they've been fired from work, they've been assaulted, they've been arrested, they've been harassed every day for fighting this, and you want to come out and say some mad shit and expect to be praised for it. I'm sorry, but no, you lot know what a woman is. You both know what a woman is because you're both married and you both fucked around on the women that you're supposed to be married to with other women. So don't sit there act all like you don't know what's going on. You do. So please be the men you pretend to be, the men you just said that everyone else should be. Like the other people, men need to man up. You fucking man up and speak clear and say what's going on. Gender ideology is destroying women's rights, and it's going to come for your daughters as well unless you speak up now. And you are in a position that you can, so please do it, okay? I hope you see this video. Thank you.